I heard it's Constitution Day.
Indeed it is. 238th anniversary of the signing of the greatest document ever written by man.
We have a lot to cover in tonight's show. Got pushed off for a week. Welcome to the Liberty Without Compromise live stream broadcast. We are the only live, local, liberty-minded program right here in Kootenai County where we continue to expose the political power players, politicians, and social influencers who are always busy about their deeds. We're your hosts, Dan and Donna Wilson. I'm here to screen your questions and comments. You can join right in tonight on the comment section on whichever platform you're watching. I'm seeing some of those comments already coming in. If you're watching live, be sure to click that share button. Again, on whichever platform you're watching, share this live stream to your page or profile. And for anybody listening back on our podcast, remember to join us live every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. so you can get in on that discussion. A reminder that opinions expressed are ours only and not necessarily that of our advertisers, sponsors, or affiliates. On tonight's program, we're going to dive into the latest $2.5 million tort claim filed by Gregory Johnson against Sheriff Bob Norris and Kootenai County. We're also going to revisit the explosive Cataldo town hall and who really held the authority to trespass citizens and explore what the law says about arrests, force, and civil rights. I don't know that we're going to dive into the Cataldo event.
Cataldo?
We're not going to dive into the Cataldo event. You know, sometimes I fail at these things.
Good thing you're cute.
But that was a town hall event right here in Kootenai County and Coeur d'Alene proper. What trouble could one of the KCRCC's darlings be facing?
Or faced. Past tense now.
Has faced. You can download the full, we're going to be discussing this tonight, you can download that full 28-page tort claim right on our website at libertywithoutcompromise.com. And follow along with us even tonight. You can sit there with your own copy as we go through it. So thanks again for joining us tonight on this only live, local, liberty-minded broadcast where we expose lies, we challenge corruption, and defend your rights. And now here's your host, Dan Wilson.
Good evening, episode 37, the Liberty Without Compromise broadcast. Today is a special day. If you love the Constitution, you should know your history. 238 years ago, that's right, September 17th, 1787, the U.S. Constitution was signed by delegates at the Constitutional Convention, marking a pivotal moment in American history. And the most famous quote associated with that day is Benjamin Franklin, when he was asked by a woman at the conclusion of the convention, what kind of government did you guys just create? And he said, a republic, if you can keep it. And we are now 200 and almost 50 years. If you want to consider us a nation at the beginning of the signing of the Declaration, or if you only consider us at the mark of the signing of the Constitution, doesn't matter. We're well over 230 plus years in this experiment. And I've never seen a time, and I don't know that history has truly seen a time, maybe with the Civil War, where we have seen this country as divided as it currently is with multiple worldviews. Well, one of the things that we talk about repeatedly on this show is the pursuit of liberty. That is that God-given right to you, yes, you, wherever you are. You are no more special or less special than the next person around you in the eyes of God. We are all created equal in worth, not necessarily in abilities and accomplishments and wealth and such, but as a human, valuable individual, all of us have the right to life, liberty, and property. We say a lot of things on this broadcast that are not popular because many of you are divided into a right versus left, conservative versus Democrat or liberal, Republican versus Democrat. And I'm here to tell you that the people that have attempted to usurp this great republic, as Franklin said, if you can keep it, have been quite successful over the decades, if not well over a century, in attempting to pit all of you against each other. And what this means is that if you are not paying attention, you are going to fall into the propaganda, into the psycho morphing of your conscience, where you truly believe that it is you versus somebody on the opposite side. And part of liberty right here on this show, we say things that are not necessarily popular with conservatives. They're not popular with Democrats. They're not popular with conservatives. They're not popular with liberals. They're not, you get the idea of what I'm talking about. It is my belief, as somebody who has sworn an oath personally to uphold and defend the Constitution, and I carried out those duties for 12 years while I was a reserve police officer. When I was a police officer, we did not care who the person was that we were there to serve. We saw nothing other than an American citizen. And so the very thing that we say oftentimes that pisses off some of my so-called conservative friends is this very simple thing. Everybody matters or nobody matters. And that is what we're going to talk about largely tonight. We don't have a lot of time for a lot of fluff. We're going to show something here that will probably make your day, to see a very sensitive man. And we're gonna play his sensitive remarks, part of his emotional instability, my belief, a continuation. But we're going to talk largely tonight about the February 22nd Kootenai County Republican Town Hall that was hosted by the Republican Central Committee, who I am absolutely at war with. I'm going to say that again. I am at war with the KCRCC in their current operation under the leadership of Brent Reagan. It does not espouse the ideals of true Republicans or true conservatives. It has been usurped by Reagan and all of his minions and those that are on his executive committee that cannot seem to understand how important it is that all Republicans get a say and get a vote. But we're going to talk about this town hall and the ramifications, not only for those of us in Kootenai County, but around the region, and the exposure to the county because of the egregious actions of Bob Norris, along with Ed Bajarana, Lear Asset Management, Brent Reagan. Yes, Brent, you too, you bald-headed freak. We're going to dive into that. We're going to spend most of the night discussing this. We're probably not going to get to Terry Seymour and her court woes.
The darling
of the KCRCC. But I think you have a video that
one little piece of fluff.
Yeah, one fluff.
I'm standing up I'm up on a step tonight, and I feel like more on par. I feel kind of powerful.
Well, don't get too comfortable. We all know who actually pulls the strings, Mrs. Producer.
I found that fun.
The real Mrs. Wilson.
All right, let's get to our video because this is late breaking. This is
September 11th is 2001 is this generation's "Where were you" moment. I remember hearing that phrase.
Love you, Bob.
Love you too. From my parents about the assassination of John F. Kennedy.
Kootenai County Sheriff Bob Norris teared up in front of the crowd, reflecting on not just the impacts of 9/11, but violence North Idaho has seen this summer, between the deadly carjacking incident on the state line and the ambush attack on Canfield Mountain
that's
killed
good.
two
Get it
firefighters.
Yeah, there's
The
a little
political
bit.
violence and the political disorder that is occurring in this nation and this community has got to stop.
The event's keynote speaker.
There you go.
Yeah. So, I mean, don't get me wrong.
For those
9/11 is tough.
Well, this is what's hard because we have new viewers joining us all the time. So if you just take that on its own, I mean, how dare you, Dan Wilson? This was an emotional moment from a guy in leadership. He just
Crybaby Bob Norris.
He's just
cries over.
he feels deeply.
He cries all the time. Yeah.
So give us a little more to that, because that is a common occurrence for Sheriff Bob Norris.
Yeah, I've never seen it before. It's the most bizarre, weird thing ever. I've never seen a sheriff anywhere across this country, let alone right here, that cries over the smallest things. Now, again, 9/11, horrible event 25 years ago.
Well, it is.
But, and I'm not diminishing that, but
No.
it's your sheriff has to be the most steady leader that you have, and not prone to emotional outbursts. You have to be steady like a rock, and you have to set that example for everyone else. I mean, I've been watching what's going on across the country, and I see a lot of men that are composed and are leading, weeping when it's appropriate. But this Bob Norris is not one of those, and it once again solidifies in my mind the fact that Bob Norris has to have something wrong with his psyche, that he's so emotional all the time.
And I just want to add for everybody, like, stay curious and think about this. And that is, while the events of September 11th, 2001, tragic, but there's no reason that emotion should be so close to the surface as he's presenting on that day, the other day.
Well, I think that he probably has a lot more on his mind that's leading to this emotional instability. We, several weeks ago, discussed the newest tort claim to be filed. Of course, Teresa Bornpole, from that infamous town hall back in February, has already filed a $5 million tort claim. And for those of you who aren't familiar with what tort claims are in essence putting a government on notice that a citizen is claiming injury or damages, and they intend to ask for compensation due to whatever their loss happens to be. Once the tort claim is filed, there's usually, I think, about 180 days, depending on where you're at, which time the government has to respond, whether or not they're going to accept that or not. Most of the time, it seems like they don't. And then it is up to the plaintiff, the person claiming injuries, to go ahead and file a lawsuit in the appropriate court. So Teresa Bornpole had already filed her $5 million tort claim several weeks ago, months ago rather. Just recently, we were going to talk about this 2 episodes ago. So this is actually 3 weeks late in coming, just due to scheduling and then the events of last week. But another individual that was at that town hall where Teresa Bornpole, who was admittedly, speaking loudly, was laid hands on by the sheriff. We're going to go over that. She was drugged out of that town hall. The security guys that acted on the behalf of Sheriff Bob Norris are all charged, criminally charged, and are facing trial here pretty shortly. But none of this stuff happens in a vacuum.
Right. I was going to say, that's why you're covering both tort claims, because they tie in together.
The claim we're going to talk about tonight is Gregory Johnson. This was one who, the minute I saw what was going on, I, as a retired law enforcement officer, was so shocked at what I saw from illegal, in my opinion, illegal use of force, false arrests, so many other things that we're going to go over, that I was literally shocked. This is kind of a chain reaction, because Norris went to go put hands on Bornpole, and then the rest is history. We're going to tonight, as I've now edited this segment 3 times. Every week I will it down. At first, the tort claim is large. Teresa Bornpole's was, I think, about 4 pages total. This one filed by attorney Dan Scheckler, who, by the way, happens to be a current KCRCC member. He was voted in this last year as a PC, precinct committeeman of his district. He's representing this man, Gregory Johnson. But, you know, there's so much here in this 28-page tort claim that I'm just going to read it. I'll probably pause, but here's how I'm going to work this out tonight, just for those of you that are kind of curious. I'm going to read a large section of this 28 pages. Now, it's you know, not as dense as what it looks like. It's on typical legal style form, so the pages don't have as many words on them. But what we're going to do is we're going to read through the claim of Gregory Johnson, and then we're going to go and look at videos from that night. I think that after you watch these videos and listen to not only what is being claimed by Mr. Johnson and his attorney, but also when you hear in the words of Coeur d'Alene police officers and detectives who arrived at this chaotic scene and investigated it at the conclusion of the incident. Once you start looking at the pieces we're going to put together, I think that if you've been on the fence so far, I think you may have an opportunity tonight to look at this from another angle, which is people's constitutional rights being violated. There's others that can wax on far more eloquently than I can when it comes to explaining all the nuances of the law. I'm more of a broad brush guy. I can say it's either right or wrong. But this was filed a couple weeks ago. And so, Dawn, if you want to pull up, we can put Johnson tort claim file up.
I'm going to do that. I also want to invite those of you who've joined us since the top of the hour to share this live stream to your page or profile. And a significant part of what we're covering tonight is the Gregory Johnson tort claim from that infamous KCRCC town hall, a tort claim that he's filed against Sheriff Bob Norris, and that's what we're digging into. I also just put a link to that on the Liberty Without Compromise website. We have the tort claim available for download. Mm-hmm. So if you want to do that and look at your own copy as Dan's going through that, you can cross-reference it.
Yeah, I'd highly recommend that you do that. All right, so we're going to pull that up here. You guys can kind of follow along. Probably not in order, but I'm just going to read highlights. So this was filed in Kootenai County. Gregory Johnson against Robert Norris, Kootenai County, as the defendants. Of course, Norris is sheriff. The tort claim goes on to say that Robert Norris is an elected sheriff of Kootenai County, all relevant times hereto acting under the color of state law or in the alternative acting in his private capacity. So they're saying it's either he's doing it as an official capacity or in his private capacity. Sheriff Norris is the highest law enforcement officer for Kootenai County. Norris sets final policy within the office of the Kootenai County Sheriff. All sheriff deputies are subordinate to Sheriff Norris, and claimant Gregory Johnson hereby gives notice of his tort claims against Sheriff Norris and Kootenai County as explained herein. And then he goes on to talk about the date, time, and location of the offense, which was at the Coeur d'Alene High School. Under line 12, the torts complained of herein include deprivation of civil rights under color of state law in violation of U.S. Code 42, 1983, retaliation for exercise of protected speech, false arrest, false imprisonment, assault, battery, excessive force, negligence, and negligent supervision and training. Pay attention to this, folks, because you're going to see in the video why they're making these claims. Additionally, other causes of action may exist related to the facts and circumstances claimed herein, and the absence of the expression of such causes of action shall not be deemed a waiver. So they may find more as they go along and include it in their injuries. The acts complained of herein occurred in the course and scope of Robert Norris's duties as Kootenai County Sheriff, or in the alternative in his private capacity. The intentional acts complained of herein were done with malice. Kootenai County is liable for the acts and or omissions of its sheriff complained of herein. Okay, we're going to skip around a little bit. Allegations. Greg Johnson is a concerned citizen. He's an interior designer professional. He's married and has a daughter in common with his wife. Their minor child attends school in the Coeur d'Alene School District. Mr. Johnson is interested in state and local government and desires to see the government function well and follow the rules that govern our government and each and every one of us. So it goes on to say that's why he attended this town hall that was advertised. And we're going to show you later on all these exhibits that back up the claim as to why any reasonable person in Kootenai County that saw the advertisement for an open town hall hosted by the KCRCC, but at a high school, why they would think that it's there for everybody to come and listen and interact with their state legislative representatives. Bullet point 21, the KCRCC advertised a legislative town hall to be held at the Coeur d'Alene High School in February 22nd of 25. The KCRCC distributed a graphic or flyer advertising this event. Again, we're going to show this shortly. The event was held at the Coeur d'Alene School District, and policies govern the use of this facility. The school district is governed by a board of trustees and is operated by a superintendent and such agents and the official acting under the superintendent pursuant to policies and procedures of the school district. What does this mean? This means that, hey, the school is a government service, but they also have hierarchy. They have governance inside how rules and conducts and policies within the confines of state law have to be carried out in their facilities. The use of school facilities is contingent on the organization acknowledging that all individuals using school facilities shall comply with the policies of this board and that the organization or individuals granted use must follow the policies, rules, and regulations of the board. For any of you who are not aware, anytime you use a school facility for a non-school event, you always have to sign a contract. I've been signing these contracts with schools since I was, 21, 22 years ago, when I was renting them out for functions. When you do that, you have to post insurance so that if anything happens, your coverage carries anything that happens at that location, and it absolves the school district from liability. You also have a code of conduct that you have to comply with, the rules that the facility mandates. The school district's policies provide that the school principal or his designee may take appropriate action to remove unauthorized persons and may request that the unauthorized person leave the school. And this is part of their district policy manual. 32, the school district policy provides that after the school principal or his designee makes a request for removal of an unauthorized or disruptive person, if the individual does not leave voluntarily or resists removal, law enforcement shall be notified and requested to assist in the removal. They even have procedures as to how somebody can be officially trespassed off of government property. Key thing here, folks, remember this: government property open to the public. We're going to talk about this, but the KCRCC has been claiming that this was a private event and that there were rules. Well, I hate to tell you this, Brent Reagan, because you have such shitty attorneys representing you. But the reality of it is that you can't publicly announce that it's open to the public, let people come in, and then say, oh, by the way, here are the rules. That's not the way it works. If you rented the facilities and then charged an admission or gave tickets out with those requirements, you guys all know, you go to concerts all the time, you look at the little stub, there are requirements for your behavior and conduct with which you can stay in and enjoy the function or what constitutes removal. Hell, go to a local public park. Parks have rules and things that you do to violate those rules to get you expelled.
Yep.
So they're basically, Scheckler, as he's setting this up, is pointing out, look, these are facts of the matter. The school is hosting this, or rather renting this to the KCRCC. There's a contract, there's policies on how you remove somebody legally. KCRCC did sign a contract with them. We've shown this on previous episodes. We're not going to go into it here. But they did sign it and submitted a facility use agreement acting through its authorized agents. The facility use agreement did not implicitly or explicitly provide the KCRCC the exclusive use of the facility. Rather, and that's important, exclusive, they had a section of the campus. Rather, the use agreement only granted a license to use the facility. The facility use agreement did not specify that the KCRCC had either the covenant of quiet enjoyment of the facility or the exclusive use of the facility. Rather, the facility use agreement provided that the KCRCC could use the facility for a public event. They go on to talk about the fact that Norris, the authority was never transferred to the KCRCC to remove disruptive or unauthorized persons at a town hall event. Norris was not a designee, never officially named as having that authority through the school, and was instead retained by the school principal or his designee pursuant to district policies. Now, it goes on to say, look, if there is a lawful reason for sheriff to take lawful action, then by all means, you have to refer to what the state law allows you to do. So they're not saying you can go to a facility and do whatever you want, but it's very specific because we have things like the First Amendment, right to assemble, right to free speech, those things that some of us conservatives lately have been acting kind of like those that we claimed that we were against years ago. It goes on to say the KCRCC organized a town hall with a legislative committee chaired by Jamie Haas. Thomas Gandy, the school district safety and security coordinator, asked the legislative committee what the security for the event would be. Jamie Haas, chair of the legislative committee, wrote in electronic correspondence to other members of the KCRCC that Sheriff Norris would be in attendance. We're going to show you that email. After the incident, the KCRCC chairman, Brent Reagan, said that Sheriff Bob Norris had all the details for the security for the event and that nothing was done without him being aware. Again, we have that quote from the Coeur d'Alene Press that he gave to the reporters. At the event, Sheriff Norris informed members of the public that he was the sheriff of this county and implied that compliance with his request was required by law. However, Sheriff Norris did not have any authority to remove any person from the real property owned by the school district unless making an arrest or otherwise detaining a person as provided by what? By law. Folks, all these details matter. Some of you are saying, well, this is boring. Why are you reading this? Well, because sometimes through these filings, because the attorneys that are representing or the attorney representing the claimant has to be specific, and it's his job to break it down to a debate, a debatable argument for court. So oftentimes when we're discussing, we may hit one highlight or another, and we forget some of these other small details. Again, 28 pages. Scheckler did a pretty good job of setting up exactly what went on and how egregious this truly is. And I can just imagine Norris there. I'm the sheriff of Kootenai County. You have to do whatever I say you must. And by the way, those of you that are patriots, that love the rule of law, is that the way it goes in our republic? I would never go up to somebody when I was in uniform and say, just randomly, I'm the law, do whatever I say. And if I say jump, you say, how high, sir? It's not the way it goes. Norris did not have any authority to remove any person from the real property owned by the school district. He was dressed in plain clothes and adorned a hat that said sheriff. He was wearing his Yellowstone jacket. Mm-hmm. This indicated an ambiguity he would later exploit of whether he was acting as a sheriff or as simply a political candidate for office with no authority other than the power of the persuasion. Now, isn't that the same kind of argument that he was making in Penny Collinson's case?
Yeah.
Kootenai County is not liable because it was me, the candidate, that was saying these things. Right? Sheriff Norris was not authorized by the Coeur d'Alene High School principal or his designee to trespass individuals from the high school auditorium and remove members of the public from the real property owned by the district. On patrol, we'd get frequent calls. Hey, can you trespass this person from the store or from this residence? And we would go and, hey, are you the owner of the property? Are you the manager? What's your authority? We can't just trespass somebody without understanding who actually is in control of the real estate, especially not at town halls. And I'm surprised there were other charges he probably could have gone for, but he did not. The MC, which is Fat Mouth Ed Baharana, he did not announce that Sheriff Norris was authorized to command people to leave the Coeur d'Alene High School auditorium. The MC didn't even say, hey, this is the sheriff. But remember, these guys were so cheap and lazy that they would not even pay to have uniforms in the auditorium at the school, whether it was Coeur d'Alene police or whether it was Kootenai County Sheriff's deputies. And you have to ask yourself why. It's not like the Kootenai County Republicans are broke. But I do believe that this was a concerted effort, planned. It's my belief. No proof, Brent Reagan. So clean your earwax out so you can understand what I'm saying. This is an opinion. But I think we're going to show you here shortly how we think that it was Brent Reagan, some nefarious actors at the KCRCC, along with Bob Norris and Bruce Matari, who targeted Borenpole, and it went horribly wrong. And the Wonder Boy, Sheriff Bob Norris, screwed the pooch. And he made an international spectacle that, while conservatives blindly disrupt her at a town hall, her rights deserve to be violated, while you're going on Newsmax.
I want to jump in and say Connie Griffiths is joining us over on Facebook and wants to know, hey, whatever happened to that woman he drug out of the town hall? I just want to encourage you to keep listening tonight, because this Gregory Johnson tort claim that we're going through all ties in. You're going to see some video footage, and we're going to go back over those events and how we ended up where we are today with the Gregory Johnson tort claim. Thanks for joining us tonight.
MC Fatmouth Ed Baharana did not announce that Norris had the authority to clear anybody out. The Coeur d'Alene High School principal, Norris designee, never commanded Greg Johnson or Teresa Borenpole to leave the Coeur d'Alene High School auditorium on or about February 22nd, 25. On February 20th, 25, members of the KCRCC and the Legislative Committee met with Paul Truett of Lear Asset Management at the Coeur d'Alene High School. Sheriff Norris was not present at this meeting. The purpose of this meeting was for security planning. Paul Truett and the members of the KCRCC inspected the high school facility and developed some security plans for the town hall. Sheriff Norris did not participate in the planning and inspection of the facility at that time, but I'm going to argue later on through comments made that Bob Norris knew that this was happening prior to the event. Officer Josh Renaud of the Coeur d'Alene Police Department interviewed Paul Truett prior to the February 22nd, 25 town hall. They discussed security contracts and stuff. Neither Sheriff Norris of KCRCC, Paul Truett, or Lear Asset Management received or signed a security agreement with the district authorizing them to remove disruptive persons on the district's behalf. And this is very important to note. Greg Johnson attended the town hall concerned about issues affecting his daughter's education. That's why he was there. Greg Johnson is married, and it goes on to talk about he wanted to come and listen to his representatives and to see what they were having to say about education and other things that citizens in Kootenai County and the state of Idaho would be concerned about. He came in shortly before the town hall was scheduled to begin. Line 67, he observed an empty aisle seat, took the aisle seat so he could stretch his legs. Due to his age and conditions of his hips and knees, he walks with a limp, which you'll see is very evident when you look at video, and an unsteady gait. He has two disintegrating discs in his lumbar spine, pinching his nerves, causing significant pain. At the time of this incident, he had a serious knee condition, which resulted, pay attention, in a knee replacement surgery after this incident on or about May 5, 2025. So, 5-6 weeks later, ends up having surgery. There were empty seats to his left. The seats next to Johnson were empty. Mr. Johnson arrived alone and did not meet up with any other person. Mr. Johnson did not coordinate to attend the meeting with any other person prior to this event. He did not previously know Teresa Bornpole prior to this town hall. And again, we can't tell this story without also revisiting some of the facts and circumstances with Bornpole.
Correct, yeah.
Mr. Johnson did not previously know her. Teresa Bornpole arrived approximately 20 minutes after the town hall began. She took a chair, 2 seats to Johnson's left. Ed Baharana further agitated an unruly crowd. He was the master of ceremonies at the town hall. At the beginning of the town hall, Mr. Ed Baharana read written remarks that said, "Our goal is to foster a productive and respectful environment where each voice can be heard and each point can be thoroughly considered." Liar. He contradicts that. We're going to hear that.
Yep.
He continued, "We are here not only to listen, but to engage constructively. Unless you're not a Republican. Let's make the most of this opportunity to connect with our representatives and each other in a meaningful way." Yet this respectful script was quickly abandoned by Baharana. Various legislators spoke during the town hall. During the town hall, various members of the audience would cheer or jeer to support or oppose the elected legislators. Folks, this is very, very important. For those of you that are looking at this as nothing more than Teresa started making noise, which again, I don't think that she should have spoken out the way she did. For all of you slow learners in the back of the bus there, let me say this again. I'm not condoning what she did. I would not have done that myself. But I can tell you, I would not have taken the actions that Bob Norris nor Fat Mouth Ed Baharana did during the time they decided to engage with Teresa. If you're going to apply the rules, it has to be unanimous across the board. That's why you go to events and they say, look, you can't clap when you're happy. You can't scream when you're upset. Be quiet. And yet there's video out there showing the disruption was okay when people were clapping and cheering or, shouting something encouraging to one of their legislators. But when it turned opposite, then all of a sudden we have an issue. And it was going throughout the entire auditorium, dissenters. It wasn't just over on stage right of that auditorium. I'm not going to read all the remarks that Ed Baharana said. You're going to hear them shortly. So Bornpole starts saying some things. Baharana decides to engage her, speak over her. Sometime during the agitation, Bornpole, seated 2 chairs away from Mr. Johnson, shouted, "Is this a town hall or a lecture?" During Mr. Baharana's over-talking, Sheriff Norris approached Teresa Bornpole. Sheriff Norris shouted at Baharana to stop the meeting, gesturing with his hands, but Ed Baharana continued to overtalk the crowd despite Sheriff Norris's instructions. Again, these are important details, folks. We see from the video that Norris singled out Bornpole, bypassing all the others that were closer to his immediate vicinity, his location when he was in that auditorium, and he went straight to Bornpole. You're also going to see in the videos that Jeremy Loken, who had a search warrant served on him for video that he took at this event. He's a darling of the Kootenai Journal, lives with his parents as a grown-ass man, still lives with his parents in their basement. And he just happened to be there along with Dave Riley, Agent Tiki, sitting on that side with their cameras pointed directly to get everything in full view of Bornpole. And we're going to show you here shortly exactly why we're saying that Bornpole was targeted, because Bob Norris has said things in public many times, along with Special Deputy DC Special Agent County Commissioner Bruce Matari also has done.
A reminder, we've got the link to this full Gregory Johnson tort claim. I put the link in the comments section so you can scroll up and find that, click on it and read along, or sit down in your time and read that through. It seems foreboding at 28 pages, but it really is a quick read and very well done. So it gives a lot more structure to this event and the things that rolled out. I mean, exactly as they took place.
Ed DePriest, Reagan was creepily standing over my shoulder for about a half hour before and had multiple interactions with Truett before the incident. You're exactly right, Ed. Some of that video that we're going to show in a little while is going to show this. Lurch himself, Nostrafastu, whatever you say, that creepy vampire, was there. And he's also talking to another individual that I'm hoping those of you that are watching may know who this guy is. We're calling him the cigarette man out of the X-Files.
We need the internet to do its work. We need you guys to do your work to identify this man. Coming up, we've got video clips, so hang on for that. It's going to help demonstrate the story as it unfolds.
So Ed Beharana continues to overtalk the crowd while Norris told him, to stop it. Then he starts engaging Teresa while Teresa's talking.
Sure
So
does.
now, is it a disruption, folks? Because, you have the MC not shutting his big fat mouth, and it is a big fat mouth. He continues to taunt and act like the ass that he is to the person Norris is saying, you got to get out of here. But he hasn't really told her why. This plays into part of why Greg Johnson ended up interacting with Bob Norris and Paul Truett and ended up suing Norris and the county. Norris goes over to Borenpole. He says, get up or be arrested. Well, that's a real nice way to treat somebody right off the bat.
Yeah.
Not, hey, you need to be quiet. Not, hey, quit disrupting. Not,
it's, as they say, well, that escalated quickly.
We're not going to ask you to do this again, so be quiet, or, we're going to detain you or anything. He just says, get up or be arrested. Let me ask you, do any of you expect to be sitting anywhere where you have a lawful right to be and expect some cop to come up to you and just immediately say, get up or be arrested? It's absurd. Sheriff Norris looked at Greg Johnson, who was just sitting, close by to Borenpole, and says, can you please move? Greg Johnson obliged immediately and rose from his seat and stepped away, allowing Norris access to Teresa Borenpole. There was the interactions back and forth. Norris asked Mr. Johnson to step away further because things were escalating. This is right after Bob said he's going to pepper spray her inside a crowded auditorium. Because the fool doesn't even understand use of force, obviously, and he can't effect an arrest or a detention when he tries. Norris then said to Borenpole, hi, I'm Robert Norris. I am the sheriff of this county, and I'm asking you to leave on video. Please get up or be escorted out. She asked, escorted out? During this, some members of the audience chant and shout, free speech, free speech, free speech. Sheriff Norris then said, let's go. And proceeded to grab her arm with both hands, despite being disabled in his shoulder. I didn't say that. Attorney Scheckler said that. Hopefully we had a little something to do with bringing this issue up to the public. Mm-hmm. Sheriff Norris did not tell Borenpole that she was under arrest, despite it being reasonably practicable and safe to inform her that she was under arrest. If she was under arrest, informing Mrs. Borenpole that she was under arrest was reasonably necessary under the totality of the circumstances to avoid creating confusion, including about Sheriff Norris's role and on what legal basis he was going hands-on with a female citizen. You have to have the lawful right to go hands-on with somebody, and there's nothing he's done up to this point that gave him the right to do that. And if you want to argue with me, then let's go. Let's go toe-to-toe right now. Any of you conservatives that want to go with me on this issue, come, bring it. Let's talk about lawful and unlawful. And half of you jackasses out there that were running your mouth for 4 years under Biden, ain't taking my guns, they're not going to give me the COVID to happen. But all of a sudden, your boy, your Republican Party, your Brent Reagan, all of your doofuses are up there on the stage, and now all of a sudden, the shoe's on the other foot. Then you strangely don't have a problem with civil rights. Sheriff Norris did not tell Borenpole that she was being trespassed from the district property by the school principal or his designee, despite it being reasonably practicable and safe to inform her that she was not authorized to remain on district property and that he was so authorized to act on behalf of the school principal or his designee. It goes on. I think we're playing the video. Okay. You get the idea. You go to that link and download it because it is so well written as to the totality of how bad Norris and Paul Truett with Lear Asset handle this entire event. And you'll see the initial confusion of Coeur d'Alene PD showing up and how they took actions that later on, in conjunction with the county, or rather the city prosecutor, declined charges that they originally had cited Bornpole for, and instead they turned those 4 security guys that were originally the heroes into zeros with a lot of charges. I don't know. I think that we'll go to video number 1 first, and we're going to show you these videos from multiple different angles and perspectives. We're going to talk about, we're going to slow them down. We're going to show you exactly, again, where they messed up, where Bob Norris messed up, where Ed Beharana, where the KCRCC, and why this is a very, very big deal. And if you, as a so-called conservative or as a Christian or as a Republican, are okay with this, then we are at odds. Then we are even more divided on what it means to be liberty without compromise. So let's go ahead and play video number 1. We're going to start off with how this fracas started. We're going to give you just a little insight into how this all went down.
The thing about it is, we're a citizen legislature. There are 105 of us.
Damn right.
And we fight it out, and that's the way it's supposed to work. And sometimes it gets a little messy. So anyway, I'll stop and turn it over to somebody else.
Bill Hart stole from public land.
And everybody pay attention to the
Okay, so that right there in blue where we've stopped the frame, and you can go ahead and keep that video up. We're not going to pull it back down.
All right.
corner who wants attention. Everybody give her attention.
Okay, so that's Teresa Bornpole. What she stated to that representative, Ron Mendy, who's a really nice guy, I like Ron, but she says, hey, Phil Hart stole timber, and he did. Current senator from, Athol. He never paid his debt back to the local community. And these are the people that are governing you right now and want to talk about government, is currently treating its citizens while they themselves don't practice what they preach. So that's the very first volley. You're going to hear more people screaming and shouting as we go along.
Everybody look, let's give her applause. Yay! Woo! Boy, she can yell really, really loud. That's impressive. Okay, Tony, you here? Tony down there somewhere? I can't see.
Okay, so did you notice that when she said that, fat mouth Ed Beharana turns around and starts engaging, wants the crowd to look at her.
Yep.
So there you go. There's interaction one. Either the decorum remains or it doesn't, Ed.
Okay, there. All right. Tony was born in Los Angeles, California, and received a BS in mechanical engineering from Utah State University. He has been a small business owner and has worked in
that they have an ethical disagreement with, and you can see where this is leading to. There are issues of bioethnicity, where we have potential crossbreeding of human genes and animal genes. That's not too far in the future. 10 years ago, you never would have heard about it.
Are you serious right now? That is ridiculous.
Kick her out.
Ladies and gentlemen, please let them talk.
Take me out. Silence my
The
voice.
state has had a very strong medical protection against abortion since about 1972, ever since the Roe versus Wade. So doctors are protected against having to be forced to do abortions.
All right, hold on one moment here. Okay, and again, you folks who are just popping off with stupid remarks, you're not taking into account the people sitting next to you. There's a bunch of people that came here to hear them. There's an opportunity for you to sound off, but not right now. And because you're not smart enough to know that, you're just crazy people. And what we're doing right now is causing.
Okay. When the representative was speaking, you'll see him look to the left. He was addressing the first outbursts that were taking place. Then you heard some cheers. You heard a lot of jeers. There, listen with the ability to hear it clearly. I don't know how well it is heard through these multiple copies, whatever platform you're listening to right now. But you're going to hear people all over the auditorium, both in support and against the representative. And there was every bit of a fracas going on the other side. But yet, where does Norris and Lear first go to? He goes straight over to Bourne-Pole, which happens to be right in front of Brent Reagan, where Brent Reagan's standing. It also happens to be right in front of Jeremy Loken, who's the videographer, Corleone Freedom Watch, Dave Riley. Just a coincidence, right?
Or be arrested.
So you know, folks, when our nation began, there was some really, really contentious times. No, I'm not recognizing you.
What would you like to do?
So yes, we're going to get to him. We're going to get to him. I promise. We'll give him plenty of chances.
It's not a negotiation.
But you know, the problem is the folks. Oh, look at that. Oh, he's showing.
So why did he go up to her and tell her that she has to leave or be arrested?
Yeah, he says this is not a negotiation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what they were trying to determine, or Teresa was, or other people were shouting on, like, what's the charge?
Mm-hmm. You hear disruption everywhere, including the guy running his mouth with the microphone. But more importantly, look at Greg Johnson, who happens to be the guy that's in the right side of the frame, who just complied with Norris's request to get up.
Yes.
And to move. So we're going to play this a little more.
Showing how intelligent he is with all of the fine words that he's asking. This was the mission that came here to disrupt so that the citizens can't hear. The reality is there's a whole bunch of great things that are happening.
Johnson just was told to move further after Johnson told Norris. Remember, we don't have kings in this frickin' country.
You also have Norris, because he's not wearing body cam, he's not in uniform. He's asking one of the security guard guys, "Hey, give me a camera, give me a camera."
He's got the camera. Normally, he's been wearing his body camera prior to that. When I was running against him, remember he was running around with that body camera.
He got it off of Amazon.
But he moves. He also threatened some of the ladies that were sitting at the other side of on the opposite side of Bourne-Pole that they were going to be removed or arrested as well. But yeah, just take a look. You do see the person there that's filed this tort, Johnson, saying to Norris, "Come on, leave her alone. Leave her alone." By the way, where were all you conservative men that were there that so supposedly love the Constitution, the Bill of Rights? Just because you have a bias against her, you were okay with this? And I saw some extremely despicable behavior, including Ken Scott, that guy that's been doing nothing for the past 20 years, but resting on his service in the Air Force and his bitter outlook on life. We're going to show you him sitting there, the guy that supposedly defended people when he was in the military. We'll see what he has to say about Bourne-Pole when she's getting manhandled by these dudes.
Well, and I think in this case here, what you see is Gregory Johnson that Dan just mentioned was the only man that stood up and said, what?
Come on, leave her alone. What in the world?
Come on, leave her alone.
All right, let's go back to that video. It disappeared off stage.
The problem is we got a bunch of rabble-rousers who just won't allow it to be spoken. So, the thing is, what I'm doing up here is I'm simply over-talking you because your voice is meaningless right now. And we're just taking care of the rest.
Your voice is meaningless right now. So Ed kind of changed his tune that he wanted respectful dialogue that, was...
I'm talking over you right now because your voice is meaningless.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually what's going to happen is everything's going to settle down and we'll get to me. I just happen to have a nice loud voice and a big microphone, and I can talk over all of you. And I can just talk for on and on and on. And look at this little girl is afraid to leave. She spoke up, and now she doesn't want to suffer the consequences.
At this point, she has not been placed under arrest. You have a sheriff, chief law enforcement officer of the county, the one that's supposed to defend people against out of control, unaccountable federal and state government, represents all people. And what do we see here? He decides that he has to be the one to go hands-on because he has to save the day, right? Brent Reagan's over there lurching over top of Ed DePriest, watching the whole thing. We're gonna show you a picture of the guy that we want for you to help us identify. Marcus Not Realize has a theory about this individual, and if that's true, this makes it even more nefarious. And during discovery, the KCRCC is going to have its ass handed to it. You see Johnson moving out of the way. You see Lear Security coming up here, and you hear Baharana continuing to run his mouth back and forth and agitating the crowd.
Isn't that the problem that we're struggling with so many of the kids today? Is they want to behave poorly and then not struggle with the consequences.
What a pussy. He couldn't even, even though he shouldn't have put his hands on her, he couldn't even effect the arrest. Doesn't even understand the basics of controlling an individual that's uncooperative.
That is shameful. I think what we've got right now is a situation where these folks are trying to filibuster and shut this whole program down. Unfortunately, they're being successful. So all of you who came here to hear the legislators, I applaud you for sitting there and quietly listening. I promise we will get back to them. In the meantime, we've just got to be a little aggressive with some of these folks here. Look here. No, I shouldn't be removed. I should be allowed to cry.
You're not helping. You're not helping. You are not.
Okay, right there. That person saying you're not helping is my belief when you look at other frames. That's Greg Johnson.
Yeah.
Saying, hey, look, you guys just came over and put your hands on. You didn't identify yourself as security. There's no markings on that said security. Timeline shows that she came in after the announcement was made. Lear was in violation of not only Coeur d'Alene code when it comes to security at public events, having to have markings on the front and back. They were also told by the school resource officer prior to the event to have markings on. They're without any excuse.
And that's in writing.
It's in writing. It's in the police report. But you have these goons now because they're not trained. I mean, I would never, when I had my security company, I would never hire this caliber of individuals. You can tell they don't know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
And again, you don't have to obey. The argument is the sheriff told him to do it. You don't have to obey an unlawful order. And you probably, if you're going to be security, better have a pretty good idea when you can or can't lay hands on people. As I used to train people all the time to the reasonable, necessary standard and lawful putting hands on somebody. But Norris tells him to do it, and Johnson seems to be the only one vocally saying, don't do this.
Not helping.
Excuse me, Sheriff Norris. This gentleman is assaulting me.
You out
This
now.
man is
You
assaulting
out
me.
now. Let's go.
This man is assaulting me. Is this your deputy? Is this your deputy? No. Is he your deputy?
No.
Is he a deputy? No.
You're out.
Who the fuck are these men?
So how about that nose speak? Oh my goodness. Elon Musk. It's too bad. We have some 150-year-old Social Security recipients.
Leave her alone.
This guy right there. I want to know who this guy is. If you happen to know who that person is, please drop us a message through info@theidahosheriff.com. Or no, we have that's my old.
That's okay. One. It's info@libertywithoutcompromise.com, but either one will get through. If you know who this guy is that's in still frame right now, looks like he's wearing a brown, dark tan colored suit, receding hairline, black rimmed glasses, a beard.
Portly.
He's probably 44 short.
Yeah. Again, Bornpole had every right to resist. She was told she was under arrest. Those guys have no authority to grab her. She resisted appropriately, and I think you're going to find this out with the charges that were later dropped against her and the new charges that were brought against.
We have a comment that's saying it's despicable that the crowd is cheering this on, and that's the other thing that's escalating here.
You guys are the same. If you were in that crowd, and some of you are, and you need to be extremely ashamed of your behavior. I understand how you can get that way, but what's the difference between cheering for that and, give us Barabbas?
That's what it sounds like.
Are you guys principled conservatives, or are you a mob, Ken Scott?
We know that government has been mismanaging money. You are not deputy! And you are not doing a fair actually showing it all out for us.
Who are these guys? Show your badge!
Who are you?
Don't touch her. Get your hands off her. Stop it. Yeah, that's what they say to rape it.
Now, for those of you who are not in the know, save NIC.
Who are you? Do you have a badge?
To come here today, and I applaud them for doing so. Thank you for coming.
Where's your
But the
badge?
problem is this. They didn't come here to listen. They came here to interrupt.
All right. Yeah, that's tough to watch. Number one, just from a patrol tactic standpoint, there's so many stupid things that Norris did that, as it's been said, he didn't de-escalate, he didn't give her a chance, he didn't give her a warning. The first problem is the cheap ass KCRCC did not decide to spring for extra duty law enforcement to be there in uniforms, which had Bornpole been disruptive, along with everybody else equally warned. And after several warnings, if it needed to progress from there, could have detained her. They could have done many other things, but no, immediately Bob, as you're going to see from other surveillance, makes a beeline directly from outside the auditorium and goes directly for her as he's strobing his flashlight in her direction, bypassing the other people that were equally making a spectacle. Let's go to video number 2. This one is this was shot.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
This was shot by my friend Quincy Franklin, the BC preacher. He got some really good angles on it. Again, this is about 4 minutes long, but you need to see the different angles so you can match up with what Norris was saying versus what Coeur d'Alene detectives eventually came to the conclusion of, and Scheckler representing Gregory Johnson in this tort claim.
A bunch of people that came here to hear them. There's an opportunity for you to sound off, but not right now. And because you're not smart enough to know that, you're just crazy people. And what we're doing right now is we're causing violence. So, folks, when our nation began, there was some really, really contentious times. No, I'm not recognizing you. So, yes, we're going to get to them. We're going to get to them. I promise. We'll give them plenty of chances. But, the problem is the folks... Oh, look at that. Oh, he's showing how intelligent he is. So that the citizens can't hear. The reality is there's a whole bunch of great things that are happening. The problem is we got a bunch of rabble-rousers who just won't.
Okay, watch this very carefully. Johnson has already moved behind the row of seats. Pay very, very close attention to Norris getting up in his space. Watch this very, very carefully.
So, the thing is, what I'm doing up here is I'm simply over-talking you because your voice is meaningless right now. And we're just taking care of over. I'll stay here. Isn't that the problem that we're struggling with so many of the kids today? Is they want to behave poorly and then not struggle with the consequences. That is shameful. I think what we've got right now is a situation where these folks are trying to filibuster and shut this whole program down. Unfortunately, they're being successful. So all of you who came here to hear the legislators.
I mean, this is hard to watch. You've got the crowd going nuts, and you have the fat loudmouth running his mouth so much that I cannot even stand listening to his voice. I can't imagine what it would be like right there. These are the fools that the KCRCC puts in charge of these events.
I applaud you for sitting there and quietly listening. I promise we will get back to them. In the meantime, we've just got to be a little aggressive with some of these folks here. Here. Oh, no, I should be removed. I should be allowed to cry.
You're not helping. You're not helping. You are not helping.
Here's Norris. Watch what he's doing. He came up. You'll see him kind of get in his place and bump him. Johnson has kind of a startled response, whips around, and Norris uses that as his opportunity to take force. And I used to work occasionally with a couple guys when I was an officer that would instigate or use any opportunity so they could articulate a reason to rough somebody up. That wasn't the vast majority of the guys I worked with, just to be clear, but there were those small elements that did that. This is what I see right here.
Bullshit. Look at that.
So you can see that Johnson is still up against the wall because we don't have the. I will have some video here in a minute, but really, what's going on is Norris and Paul Truett, head of Lear, throw Gregory out into this outer foyer next to the KCRCC promo table. They throw him up against the CMU block wall. Again, I don't know if you saw what I saw, but he was standing back. He obeyed the order that Norris gave him. Mm-hmm. You could see him limping when he first walked in earlier videos. And then as they start assaulting this woman, when Ken Scott sat there and kept running his mouth, bye, Felicia, watching from the aisle videoing, instead of standing up like a man, saying that this is wrong. Johnson then is aggressed, in my opinion. If you watch other videos, you'll see how close Norris gets into his space. And Norris is reacting because Norris doesn't understand how to control his emotions. He doesn't understand tactically how to go into a chaotic situation. He doesn't know how to respond. And so what he does is these startle responses. And then they get him in trouble. He's an emotional buffoon that we see it over and over and over again. And you see him immediately kind of bump into Johnson, whether intentional or not. Johnson kind of is unstable, whips around, puts his hands up like defense, like we all do, right? How many of us got the belt as a kid, you know? Hey. Johnson put his arms up, and then, you know, as he was moving around, the chaos and all the bumping around, Johnson then, you know, allegedly from the view was assaulting Norris by his movement. So Norris grabs him. You're going to jail. And remember, Norris is on $190,000 a year disability retirement from Los Angeles, where he's publicly stated, hey, you know, I've got this 12%, 13% shoulder injuries. Doesn't look like he has too much of a shoulder injury when he goes to put his hands on Bourneville. Doesn't look like when he got angry. And listen to how angry he is. You're going to jail now. Rips him out. No other law enforcement present because the KCRCC were cheap asses, or were they? Or was this a an effort to set it up so that Norris could come in, interact with Bornpole, remove her, humiliate her, be the hero. And it backfired because Bob Norris is not the guy that he claims that he is on paper. And all you fools at the KCRCC vetting committee that are in love with him, you're too stupid to know that he's not even anywhere close to being competent like you say he is. We've seen this over and over again. Let's go ahead and play video number 4. This is from the Coeur d'Alene High School surveillance videos. We're going to go through it pretty quick, but I want you guys again to see some other angles that you will definitely want to observe in this discussion. This is the moment that he is rushed out by Norris and Paul. Look the way he's forced into that wall. Watch what they do. They start spreading his feet. He's got bad hips and bad knees. They pull a leather planner book out of his back pocket, throw it on the ground. I mean, is this guy, if I were observing this while I was on patrol, I would think that other officers had just arrested this dude, right? So Norris gets on his phone. Somebody's texting, probably Bruce Matari, and leaves this security agent, super agent Paul Truett, to be there to detain. Why are they detaining him? And by the way, Bob, the way it was taught to me is if you're going to put hands on somebody and arrest them, you better have your own frickin' cuffs to do the work. And you were obviously there to do business because you're wearing your badge and your sheriff hat. I'm going to fast forward this a little bit here because there's about 17 minutes that go by. You can still see him right here in this upper corner being held. People are coming and going. They're removing in the lower left-hand corner. Bornpole is finally being drug out. I don't know who the chicks are with the hat and the cameras, but
I think Coeur d'Alene Press.
They were annoying because they haven't done shit when it comes to reporting.
Yeah, but they're there on the floor getting the photos.
Bring her out in Beverly Gwinnett.
There's Bruce
So
Matari.
here you have Bruce Matari, County Commissioner, Special Deputy, because Bob Norris gave him a Special Deputy, and you have Bob Norris there talking to Coeur d'Alene PD. You see in the back right upper hand corner, Johnson is still up against the wall. There's timestamp of about 17 minutes. Fast forwarding it a little bit here. He's talking, and I have hours of body cam footage. I just could not play it all. Some of the audio is tough. I have to go back to the police reports. But you're going to see here that Norris talks to this officer, this female officer, and he tells her, hey, Johnson's free to go. He won't be arrested if he goes now. Basically, hey, I don't want a witness around that can run his mouth to make me look bad. So right now I'm gonna hope that he's too stupid to realize that I just assaulted him, that I kidnapped him, and hopes that he'll think it's his lucky get out of.
So is he just
out of jail.
just now?
He's just walking now out of frame. So there's about 17 minutes that he was detained. My belief is unlawfully. It's despicable. We're going to show one last video, and then we're going to go and look at some of the comments from Coeur d'Alene police reports. And then we're going to kick it over to you guys and have a little discussion for any of you that have questions and or comments. This Johnson tort claim is spot on when you go through the 28 pages where you too can download on Liberty Without Compromise, the full 28 pages. Read it for yourself. Get educated if you are a self-described patriot and lover of liberty. Look at all the offenses. It's laid out very, very well. Let's go ahead and play that last video, number 5.
Okay, that's fine. You want me to go with viewers stay here. What you're talking.
He hit me. He hit me with his shoulder.
Yeah, I just got here and he fell on the ground. You know what I mean? I wasn't 100% sure
So
what was
he
going on.
can't.
I looked over, I was taking a video of the gal.
Okay. It's more of a shoulder thing. So
Okay, that's what that
if he's willing to leave, I'm willing to leave.
This way. Okay. Okay. Do you want me to tell him that?
So basically, he's trying to say that more or less Johnson put his hands on him. You know, in Idaho they call it what, battery? We called it assault in Washington. But in other words, unlawfully put his hands on somebody. And, you know, hey, he's out here, he's being detained. But, you know, if he's willing to leave right now, basically let bygones be bygones. You can't hear it as well probably on the platform speakers you're listening to, but they are available. If you could put your headphones on, you can hear the true audio. And it's backed up by Coeur d'Alene police officer's report. He came in there and started even saying that he wanted Born-Pulled trespass. Paul Truett first contact responding officers and said that she had been trespassed, that he and the sheriff had trespassed her. And then Norris went up and said, well, he wanted her trespassed. I mean, what was the crime, Bob, that allowed you to put your hands? If you yourself couldn't put her under arrest, if you couldn't affect the arrest because you claim you have jurisdiction all countywide when it's convenient for you, why in the hell didn't you do your dirty work? You're the one that caused it, and you should have written a freaking report, which you didn't do because you're a lazy, incompetent asshole. You don't even follow your own department's policies when it comes to use of force. And I know because I have requested all of those records, and they don't exist. In fact, the so-called investigation that Brett Nelson promised us doesn't exist either. But here you have Norris trying to play the little big man to the real cops, the ones that really know how to be cops, the men and women in blue from Coeur d'Alene PD that are taking over the scene and trying to make heads and tails of what's going on. They're listening to the sheriff. If the sheriff's telling you something, man, you should believe that what he's telling you is accurate and truthful. Let's go ahead and keep playing it.
I just want to point out that's Bruce Matari, County Commissioner Bruce Matari, back in frame again. He is a shadow of Sheriff Bob Norris.
An evil man, in my opinion. All right, let's go ahead and keep playing that.
I mean, I'm not going to comment on something.
Yes, yeah, tell him that. I believe his was incidental to me. If he's willing to leave, he can leave. If he's willing to.
Hi there.
Are you willing to leave?
Sure, but we'll see how this gets straightened out.
Hold on. If he wants to leave, he can leave. No, how about you telling me he's not under arrest anymore, moron? You put your hands on him. You arrested him. How about you go over and do what you need to do by saying, here's the deal. I will unarrest you for X, Y, and Z, or here is why you will be charged, cited, and released, and or booked into the Kootenai County Jail. The dude doesn't even understand Patrol 101. Sorry.
Okay, so but are you willing to leave right now?
Sure.
Like if we entertain you, you can go?
And not talk to anybody about what went down here today?
Not yet. You gotta leave the property.
Sure, I can leave the property. Is someone going to talk to me about what's going on?
About why he's I don't know.
I understand that, but
Okay. He'll leave. Okay. But you said
asked him to leave.
Okay. I'll walk out with you. If you're willing to leave, we'll walk out with you. Because you said you were willing to leave, so
Yes.
the sheriff wants to leave.
Gloria, he's full of shit, okay? You're full of shit.
Yeah, you are.
Look at the limp.
Fuck you and your nice day.
Keep going. So
Fucking patronizing bullshit.
So what he told me was that I guess he asked you to leave, right? And then somehow you bumped him. He says he doesn't know if it was incidental or not. He doesn't really care at this point. So as long as we just keep going,
But why did he have the right to ask him to leave?
I was not here. I literally, let's keep going. Come on. I literally don't know anything about what is happening here. I can't.
I stood there behind my seat because they were dragging her out, and I stood up and I told him that wasn't right, and they were overdoing it. And he told me to get. I said, I am not going to get out. Fuck you. And that's when he pulled me out.
Okay. So, yeah. So again, I still have absolutely no idea what's happening.
I understand.
Here.
You
I just
second
showed
on.
up
You
and
were
I'm like,
second on. Show up here. I
just heard
appreciate
people
you
getting
guys being
thrown
here.
around, so.
I appreciate you guys being here. Really odd that a private security
Was hired for and I don't know how that works.
I don't know either. Well,
Like, because it's through the county.
The organizer is the Republican Party.
Oh,
They are the KCRCC or whatever they are. So I get it.
Yeah.
But it should. But unfortunately, it's the culprit is the guy on stage.
Okay. So if you don't mind leaving the property and then just write a letter and do whatever you want to do, but let's not get any criminal charges because I don't even know where we're at.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. All of you. So all three of you. Okay.
Thank you.
Class act, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah.
My hat's off to you.
Yep.
You could clearly see his gait, what appeared to be a pretty significant limp. Look, in similar situations, my cop friends, you know this. You get into these, and sometimes you'll have that one guy that you have to make an example of because it's dangerous, right? Officer safety, and he's getting too close. He's been warned, and you have to take them, detain them, and or arrest them to make an example. Or there's times too where similar situation, it's just a bunch of emotional people. You get bumped as a cop. You know, you're because you're in the middle of it. Sometimes you have to look at it and go, okay, this person wasn't intentionally attempting to assault me or lay hands on. Because as law enforcement, you know this, guys. We don't allow anybody to put their hands on us.
But you know what he said that Bob Norris didn't like? He said, you don't have to do this. This is not right. He said, don't do this. This is not right. You're taking it too far.
Taking it too far.
And Bob Norris didn't like that because he's used to people, even those who have talked tough, they know that Norris isn't a good guy and they talk tough behind his back. And then once in a room with him and that guy, you know, he's in uniform, it's like you're face to face and you just can't stand up. And I would say in the time I've been in Kootenai County and on the political scene, that is probably the only time that I've seen one man, aside from Dan Wilson, and Norris wouldn't put himself in the same space with you for this reason. But Gregory Johnson said, this is not right. This is not right.
Greg Johnson, the faxer, was not associated with Teresa Bornpool. He sat in the same row that she decided to come in and sit next to him later on. He was minding his own business. He is a professional in the community. He is a father of a Lane student, and he is compliant when first asked to move. But when he sees a wrong, the way I would expect every last one of you men out there to do, he said something. And in this county, you can't say something because there's retaliation. But let me ask my law enforcement friends, the actions that you saw that Bob Norris and Paul Truett acted against Gregory Johnson, you as a objective and reasonable officer, because that's the standard that you're held to, Graham versus Connor, would you have made that same decision, or would you say, given the totality of it, the chaos, his actions were justified? My question is, okay, so then why do you detain him for that long? Bob Norris, who claims over and over again his expertise at leading counties and organizations in critical incidences, knew that they were going to have this event, knew that the temperature was high between Republicans versus Democrats, never advised them in writing, there's nothing to prove it, never advised them to bring on law enforcement or marked security or to take extra precautions to protect people there. Then he decides that this is now the time that I'm going to get on Fox News. I'm going to be on Newsmax, and I'm going to show everybody what a good, strong Idaho constitutional sheriff from Los Angeles County, what it looks like when he upholds law and order like he's Gary Cooper in High Noon, except for the problem is he didn't have the firepower that he thought. First of all, he's a weak man. He can't convince anybody with his arguments. He has to throw a temper tantrum, which always backfires on him. We've seen this in other recent events. And then he makes huge chaos. That's a complete failure, an operational failure, a failure of Bob Norris, a failure of that Lear security group, who also, by the way, remember, left their security operation plans there on site after they vacated the site. Coeur d'Alene School District employees later on found it the next day. That's great. That's been uploaded into evidence.
It has, but a little known fact for most people. We want to know, before we end out the program tonight, are there any of you who are not typically the ones to speak up in the program? There are a lot of you watching, and if you're like me, you're ones like, I'm not going to comment on this. But this Gregory Johnson case is important because when this town hall event initially rolled out, what was really highlighted and what made national news was the Teresa Borenpaul, her being drug out, because that was the explosive portion. That was the, if it bleeds, it leads part that made news. But you have Gregory Johnson, who in a far more quiet demeanor and was unsuspecting, being the only one that stood up and said, this isn't right. And that's why it's important for us tonight to expose this. And I'm wondering, for any of you joining us, is this bringing a perspective to this incident that you hadn't before seen?
What a bunch of cowards sitting up on that stage. Those that are your state legislators, the ones that, had to make certain to pass a flag law that you can't fly the pride flag, but, didn't bother to put any enforcement or penalties into it. These people that virtue signaled to get all of you guys wrapped around the axle, get you all riled up, right versus left, like we talked about earlier today, causing the real divides. And not a one of you guys up there, Redmond, Tony, Mendive, Okunowitz,
any of them could have told
Vito. Not one of you called that. And you know what? If I'm wrong, I will correct the record, but I can't find any audio or evidence that any of you guys who are supposed to be standing to represent people, whether they are part of the KCRCC or not, you're still their damn representative. You sicken me that not a one of you bothered to stand up and do what was right. Not a one of you called to lower the temperature. Not a one of you became peacemakers. This whole organization looked like nothing more than a gang that would lead people to the slaughter just because you don't like their ideas. And look, I know that Borenpaul has been accused of doing many disruptive things. I am not condoning disruption of events. Peacefully assemble is key. However, you got to be very careful when it comes to what is considered to be disruptive versus not. Supreme Court has ruled on this, and you cannot show impartiality to one party.
Well, and what you do when the disruption occurs. Brad Schultz, a comment, he's watching via Facebook and just said, Bob lost control. That's it. Simple as that. Bob lost control. He couldn't stay calm. There was no reason to escalate so quickly, and that he had so many other options. And I know that Brad speaks from experience when he's saying Bob had other, I mean, what would some of those other options have been? I mean, yep, other people could have, so many people could have told Ed Bajarana, because he was increasing the temperature in the room, shut your mouth, like get the shepherd's hook and get that guy off the stage, but nobody bothered to do that. And then Sheriff Bob Norris had other options. What would some of those options have been?
Number one, you're the guy that claims that you're this expert in strategic planning for all kinds of events. You do what we used to do in the security world as well, which is you plan accordingly. You get enough bodies there. You get the tools that you need. This thing was a miserable failure, and it shows. Let's go ahead and play that last.
So I guess really part of the issue is it was things that should have been done offensively that we're just not talking about. And everybody's kind of looking at it like, well, what other option or recourse did he have? Instead of
uniformed officers.
Yeah.
Uniform officers that are the authority.
He should be accountable to the fact.
And we're going to talk about, I'm going to show you in these slides as to why Bornpole probably had the reaction that she did against Norris, because it's my belief through statements that Norris has made in writing and publicly, and what his campaign manager, that it's now the newest county commissioner, well, he's a newer county commissioner, and Bob's former campaign manager, Bruce Matari, what they have done to Bornpole for the past several years. Let's go ahead and play our very last PDF. Let's bring it up here on stage. I'm going to read, these are largely taken from Coeur d'Alene Police's incident reports, as well as detectives. So at the beginning, you heard us read the fact that the KCRCC hosted this event. Johnson saw that it was being advertised. This was an actual advertisement that was put out all over social media. Legislative Town Hall, get updates of the 2025 legislative session from your legislators, February 22nd, 25. Coeur d'Alene High School, hosted by the KCRCC. That's it. I would believe that if it's at a high school, anybody's welcome to come, right?
Yeah. Yep. And what other access do people have to their legislators here in Kootenai County?
Here's from one of the police reports. We're going to kind of read some of these randomly and discuss them. Jamie, they're talking about, this is KCRCC emails that were obtained through warrants. February 19th, this is what, 3 days before the event. Jamie Haas emailed Brent Reagan 2 resolutions that were submitted for February. One was submitted by Luke Sommer, who's running right now for city council in Hayden, on behalf of Paul Truett. Paul Truett, you saw him there putting his hands on Bornpole and Johnson with Norris. He's the head of Lear Asset Management. This resolution is titled Resolution for State and Local Governments to Implement and Enact New Laws to Grant Law Enforcement the capability through probable cause to deter, prevent, and disrupt illegal immigration activity. So what does this mean? Paul Truett wrote a resolution, sent it to the KCRCC. They all knew who Paul Truett was. Jamie was copied on an email sent to Nina Beasley regarding the walkthrough scheduled for 2/20/25 at the Coeur d'Alene High School. So she and Paul Truett, Nina Beasley and Paul Truett, on behalf of the KCRCC, went to advance the school and to talk logistics. Paul Truett declined to meet with Gandy, head of security, nor the school resource officer, which blows my mind because as a security professional, when I was doing my advances, I always met with those guys first and foremost because they were my most valuable contacts.
Mm-hmm.
But he declined, and then later on contacted him to find out whether he could bring a firearm. Jamie is involved in an email exchange with Mark Stewart, who we've had on the show. He's also a PC with the KCRCC. Regarding security at the town hall, this is what Mark had forwarded me earlier in the investigation. She remarks that Sheriff Norris will be in attendance as an answer to Thomas Gandy, Safety and Security Coordinator for Coeur d'Alene. So it was asked by the KCRCC, well, who's going to handle security? The legislative committee got together and they were answering questions. And it was determined, hey, we don't have to worry. Norris is here. Okay, cool. I mean, not my problem, I guess, right? We're going to acquiesce to the law enforcement officer of the county. Here's some things about Brent Reagan and the KCRCC. 2/21/25, again, Brent Reagan forwards Jamie Haas the insurance certificate from Redmond Insurance for the event at the Coeur d'Alene High. We're talking about some incestuous relationships again, folks, too.
Yeah.
So Jordan Redmond is a current state representative. He's the one that attempted to get the Bible mandatory read in schools in Idaho in violation of the First Amendment and the Constitution. He's also the one that helped get legislation passed that for those that are on food stamps, they can't buy candy and soda anymore. But he also co-sponsored a medical marijuana bill in the county. His family owns Redmond Insurance, and I'm pretty positive that when they're talking about an insurance certificate, they're getting it through Jordan Redmond. So, it's all business, right, folks? All business. 2/21/25 at 12:14, Paul Truett sent a proposed contract for Lear and KCRCC to the Coeur d'Alene High School event. This proposed contract was saved by myself as a PDF and later uploaded to Viper. This is the school resource officer's report. The contract states that all service will be donated by Lear. So Lear is saying, hey, I got a contract, but I'm donating it. The objectives is to provide adequate security measures appropriate for the protection of legislative body as well as public attendees. On 2/20/25, this school resource officer contacted Thomas Gandy, head of safety and security for Coeur d'Alene School District, District 271, to see if he had been advised of the situation as the group was using the school facilities. Gandy told me he was unaware of any security agreement for the event and had not heard about a security company wanting to bring firearms into the building during the event. He verified the school district had not hired any security for the event. They were essentially contract for the school district to provide anything. They were essentially offering the KCRCC an empty building to hold their town hall. There was not a contract for the school district to provide anything other than the physical space and tables and chairs, essentially an empty building. He then then the school resource officer, he's trying to track down this Lear security wants to provide services. They're not getting paid, but they want to be armed. And I want to know whether or not they can do this. And I'm not really certain what the legal answer is. Well, this officer contacted Sergeant Paul to inform him of the situation. Sergeant Paul told me he had spoken to Captain Walther about this incident, who informed him he had spoken to Under Sheriff Nelson about the event and specifically about Truett. I was informed Captain Walther was told by Under Sheriff Nelson Truett was not employed to be security at the event because I guess my page is... So I just skipped a page. I can't see under my pointer there. But anyway, so why would Under Sheriff Nelson know whether or not Lear was going to provide or not provide security at the event? My guess is because Nelson talked to Norris, since he's his undersheriff, and probably said, hey, I'm getting all these inquiries about Lear, and we've showed you the emails that were prior to this event between Norris and Lear. Again, wanting to introduce some legislation. So Norris and Paul Truett knew each other. We've already shown that definitively prior to this event. But Nelson is saying, yeah, I have no clue about the incident. Here's a Coeur d'Alene Press article. So this was written right around the time the event took place. Coeur d'Alene Town Hall security detail remains a mystery. There are several pieces of this article. Jamie Haas told the press she didn't know who provides security for the event. I don't think there's anyone who coordinated it, she said. I've never personally met security detail at all. The legislative committee never talked about it, nor voted on it, nor signed any contract. It could have even been the sheriff who coordinated security, but I'm not sure, Haas said. Now, wasn't she part of that email chain that we showed earlier where they were talking about who is going to provide the security?
Yeah.
But apparently Haas doesn't know, or she's not telling the truth to somebody. Norris maintained that he didn't know which company provides security for the event, and he said he knew nothing about the security agreements. He's talking to the press. I did not contract with the security company. I didn't have anything to do with the security detail. Norris denied giving the unidentified plainclothes security personnel any direction as they removed Post Falls resident Teresa Bornpole from the auditorium.
He denied it, even though we're watching it on video. Hey, let me borrow your phone and go get her out of here.
You fools.
Yeah.
You absolute fools at the KCRCC that think the rest of the citizens in Kootenai County are stupid just because you call yourself a Republican. What do you guys think about this? I mean, I can go on and on and on about all the contradictions in writing, as well as the findings of Coeur d'Alene police who served search warrants and obtained emails from KCRCC members who watched videos that none of us have even seen. There was, I think, 14 different videos called Democrats, labeled Democrats, that Jeremy Loken, and here's another one for you guys to remember. Jeremy Loken, the almost 50-year-old dude that lives in his parents' basement, that's the favorite videographer of Charity and the Kootenai Journal and, you know, the KCRCC events, first was going to cooperate because law enforcement knew that he had his video right there catching the entirety, coincidentally, just happened to be on the right side where Borenpol was, caught it all, was going to cooperate. Then he claimed he didn't have very many videos. Law enforcement came to his house to collect them. He wasn't there. His parents said that he was going to be right back while the detective was waiting to meet with Loken.
And then weren't some of the videos corrupted?
He claimed they're corrupted, yes. Charity Joy of the Kootenai Journal. Just to be clear, this is how messed up it is. Charity Joy of the Kootenai Journal actually calls up this detective. I don't know how she had his phone number, and then demanded to know what charges that Jeremy Loken was being investigated for, what gave him the lawful authority to get the evidence from Loken. And lo and behold, when the detectives get to Loken's house again and find out that he's not there, and they appeal for a search warrant and are granted it, lo and behold, they find that here's all these videos. They're not corrupted. And oh, by the way, Loken starts asking almost verbatim the exact same questions that Charity Joy. So Law and Order Charity Joy, the one that covers Bob Norris like a sick little puppy. It's his propaganda piece. Look at how much money that Norris paid to the Kootenai Journal during the 2024 campaign. But this is how messed up all these people are. I want to remind you that Charity and her husband, James, super soldier, went to a Coeur d'Alene town hall shortly thereafter to try to cause a scene during a city council meeting and berated Chief White, and they followed him and aggressed him. White was calm and cool and professional during that entire encounter, but these are the people that want to claim they're for liberty. They're in your face. They're assertive. They're bullies. They try to thwart the law that they claim that they want to uphold. Go through a few more of these and then we'll call it a night. Here's an update from the Coeur d'Alene Press article. Bob Norris was right there. KCRCC Chair Brent Reagan said nothing was done without him being aware. Let me read that again. Bob Norris was right there. KCRCC Chair Brent Reagan said nothing was done without him being aware. Norris said his handling of Borenpol was in line with protocols that were set before the town hall began, though he did not explain what the protocols were or who had set them. Borenpol was asked to leave. He said Sunday she was asked to leave. The security guard's reaction was to Borenpol's action, Norris said. The reason why that occurred was because people came to disrupt. Mark Stewart, here's an observation that he made. Mark further explained there were groups on both sides of politics that were upset during the town hall and that the feeling was tense from the beginning. Mark said that the security appeared to be acting like they were Secret Service. Sheriff Norris and Commissioner Bruce Matari were both interacting with and directing security. Hear that again. Both Bob Norris and Super Detective Special Security Agent Extraordinaire and County Commissioner was also directing security. Do you guys find this interesting? At 12 o'clock on the auditorium public entrance video, we're going back to Coeur d'Alene police officers report. Paul and Sheriff Norris are observed meeting and having a conversation. This meeting lasts for over 5 minutes. Norris is observed with a large flashlight in his back pocket. While it was completely light outside the auditorium was dimmer lighting, which may explain why he brought a flashlight. Again, was he there in his official capacity or not? And oh, by the way, I thought they claimed he didn't know the security guys prior to all this.
Right.
Here's where we're saying that Borenpol definitely was targeted. This is a email that I actually obtained last fall, right after the campaign or right before the election, through a records request. It came from Bob Norris back in November of 23. He's writing to Evan Koch, who was at that time the Democrat chair here in Kootenai County. He says, Mr. Koch, thank you for your email. I've been researching this information since I received your email. He's talking about allowing Kootenai County Sheriff resources to be auctioned off for Democrat fundraisers. It's like he's been doing for the Republicans for years. Thank you for the follow-up email. I also enjoyed the event that was hosted by the Kootenai County Democrats. It's important that we as a community are able to talk about our different views and opinions. I was disappointed in one of the attendees, Teresa Borenpol, berating me as she walked out of the event. Interesting. This is very interesting. This goes all the way back to when Bruce Matari was running for county commissioner. He, in essence, doxed Borenpol. So she made a comment, and we've experienced this firsthand. We know damn good and well what it is. You say something against somebody that he doesn't like. This is Matari. Now he does it while he's in office, and he retaliates. He starts coming back at you and berating you in his way that only Bruce can. Well, you know, I think that what we really have to do is look at this holistically, because I don't think people are fully aware of just how hard our job is and the resource. You know the same bullshit that he does all the time. Well, what he does is he takes a picture of a yard sign with her house and house number in view and dox her. This was written up there in the Bonner Daily Bee. This was Norris's former campaign manager, just a year after Norris was sworn into office, running for position of Kootenai County commissioner. And here you have, remember, Bob and Bruce are always together. Bob Norris has publicly stated that Bruce has a special deputization because Matari advises him. It's his PR guy. Teresa arrived 17 minutes after Brent Reagan gave his warning about there being a security team. They will escort disruptors out of the building. She arrives 14 minutes after Norris does the pledge and 13 minutes after the MC Ed Baharana and the crowd to avoid disruption. So again, this argument that we told everybody at the beginning. How many times can I have you said, for those of you who are just joining us? People come in and out of these events all of the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous to try to think that you can say it once and everybody's going to hear it. There's just a lot here. I think in conclusion, Borenpol was disruptive and should have not been disruptive. Didn't justify the actions that were used against her, but even more so, Greg Johnson. What happened to him was egregious. And he's only asking for $2.5 million. I think that he should be asking for a lot more. Think about the humiliation, public humiliation. How many people saw his video? I know that one of the videos I posted of Norris marching him out of that room, rushing him out, bum rushing him, was, I think, replayed over 65,000 times, and Inside Edition picked it up back in March. There's public reputation now, national reputation. I mean, $2.5 million is probably not enough to recoup the overall damages that were done to him, not to include his own physical damages and any injuries that occurred. Look at the way they threw him up against that wall. You conservatives out there that think that this was justified need to pull your collective heads out of your asses and start promoting liberty and equal protection under the law while you still have the chance, because you guys are too short-sighted to realize it doesn't matter if it's a Republican or a Democrat in office. The entire trend of this great republic is trending towards eventual tyranny. And you better unite together and start fixing some of these differences, but at least agree on the rule of law, equal protection under the law for all, due process. And if you're okay with us circumventing the rule of law, I don't want to hear one part of you bitch when the next COVID comes around.
I want you to respond to this comment. I think it's very telling. This is from Randy over on Instagram. He said he's referring to Norris and the actions that took place against Borenpol commanding the security to go after her, dragging her out, the way that escalated. So Randy's comment is, he did what we all wanted. That lady is a nutcase.
Well, then, as far as I'm concerned, you might as well live in a dictatorship already. You might as well bow down to your king, because what you just described is what the founders absolutely did not want. They did not want mob rule. And I bet you're the same jackass, if you're saying that wanted bad things to happen to BLM because they were disruptive too, right? But at the same time, you didn't want any of the J6ers to face any kind of arrests or imprisonment or their rights being violated. I sat for an entire year defending the majority of J6ers because they lost their due process. And if you're the Randy that I think you are, then shame on you. Go back to Constitutional College and get your head out of your ass. And remember, we don't have kings in this country. We don't have mob rule. If you want to live under mob rule, then move. The reason that we have the problems we do in this country right now, why the temperature is so high, it's because many of you are too lazy to actually get out and make a difference. You have a couple clowns right now running the KCRCC that you guys can't even get out of office. Why? Because you're too busy with your kids' baseball games and with your video games and your barbecues and your hunting and whatever your excuse is. You won't even get out and make a difference. Half of you don't even come out to town halls. It's all the old gray hairs. And I know because I went to them for years. Things don't change when you sit on your ass on the couch all day long, gulping your Slurpee down. I'm so tired of hearing all you whiners out there that are whining, nothing's going to change and we got to take matters into our own hands. No, what you need to do is you need to uphold the rule of law, the Constitution, on this great anniversary, the 238th year of the signing of the Constitution. Powerful, powerful document. But it's nothing more than a parchment barrier if men and women don't swear an oath to uphold and defend it, which means you defend it even against those that you don't agree with, because everybody's rights that were not given by government. Those rights were given by a creator God. That God is the one who made these rules. And you don't have the right to circumvent those rules no matter who you are. But you have a right to defend it. So I reject that stupid ass argument. I'm disgusted by that kind of an argument. Because next time when a Biden or somebody else that you don't think should be president or governor or whoever else does something tyrannical, you need to shut your pie hole then, because, hey, the mob wanted us all to wear masks. The mob wanted us to get vaccines. Stupid comment.
It's kind of what I was thinking you'd say. Pretty messed up comment. Beyond stupid. Thank you for joining us in this heated discussion tonight where we went over the Gregory Johnson tort claim against Bob Norris, and I think exposed and shed even more light on that KCRCC town hall incident with Teresa Borenpaul. That has tended to be in the spotlight, and then this angle of it, not so much. And I think it further exposes the tyranny that took place that day and the breakdown of protection of people's rights.
Stay strong and courageous. Those of you who are out there fighting the good fight. I'll be your voice for you when you don't have a voice, but I expect you to do your share wherever you are. I know many that are physically disabled that are doing more than many of you that have no excuse. And while we're at it, if you're out of shape, get your ass in gear and get fit. This fight requires you to be fit spiritually, physically, and mentally. Hard words to say tonight, but sometimes that's what we got to do. God bless you all. You know that I love you. At the end, I'll disagree with you, but I'll sit down and smoke a cigar, drink a shot of whiskey, or drink coffee with you any day.
Thank you for joining us tonight on the Liberty Without Compromise live stream broadcast. Remember to go to our website, libertywithoutcompromise.com. There you can watch past episodes and view exclusive reports on the Kootenai County political power players. We've got some new articles posted up to the website as well from contributing authors. You'll find those of interest. So subscribe there, libertywithoutcompromise.com. And then also a reminder, go to our YouTube channel at The Idaho Sheriff and subscribe to that YouTube channel for reminders when we go live. And you can view all of the past archived live stream episodes. For a podcast, you can listen and subscribe wherever you get your shows. You can buy apparel on our website, libertywithoutcompromise.com. Hold on a second. Remember this hat? If you want one, let us know. Send us a note, libertywithoutcompromise.com. Thanks, you guys, and we'll see you next week.
John, thanks for the whiskey. Hey.